Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good middle of the night, whatever time of day it may be when you see this video. Welcome to Lip Luck No More. My name is Susan. Today on YouTube, a couple of my favorite creators had content that I found very interesting. And I find quite often when something intrigues or interests me, it seems to also intrigue and interest my viewers. I'm very interested in psychology, human behavior. And I had never heard of a thing called, until today that is, a thing called the Dark Triad. I will leave links in the description below for the two channels, specifically the two videos that I've seen today touching on this very interesting subject, and I find it to be relevant like those other two creators do. Relevant to familiar names involved in cases that we discuss. As I began to study the Dark Triad, I realized that there are actually many YouTube creators to whom it also can apply. As you can see, there's quite an extensive selection regarding Dark Triad, as well as Light versus Dark Triad. And here in a moment, I'll scoot you up so you can see better, because this is going to be one of those videos where I'm reading to you. And I hope that you will find it interesting and apply it where you may. Our source today is going to be my favorite when it comes to psychology, and that is Psychology Today. In this case, specifically psychologytoday.com. Here again, please apply as you see fit, where you see fit, and importantly, if in your real life, if you know someone like this, well, let's just study it and see, or read it. Credit goes to Psychology Today at psychology.com. The term Dark Triad refers to a trio of negative personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, which share some common malevolent features. The construct was coined by researchers Delroy L. Polhus and Kevin M. Williams in 2002. Understanding dark traits. People with these traits tend to be callous and manipulative, willing to do or say practically anything to get their way. They have an inflated view of themselves and are often shameless about self-promotion. These individuals are likely to be impulsive and may engage in dangerous behavior, in some cases even committing crimes, without any regard for how their actions affect others. While many researchers consider psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism three distinct traits with overlapping characteristics, others believe the commonalities suggest an underlying personality construct that has yet to be fully understood. How is psychopathy related to the Dark Triad? Most researchers consider psychopathy a trait characterized by a lack of empathy and remorse to be the darkest of the Dark Triad, insofar as psychopaths generally cause more harm to individuals and to society than do narcissists or high max. Psychopath is not a mental health diagnosis. The disorder that most closely represents it is in the DSM is antisocial personality disorder. What is Machiavellianism? Machiavellianism is not a mental health diagnosis. Rather, it's a personality trait describing a manipulative individual who deceives and tricks others to achieve goals. It is based on the political philosophy of the 16th century writer Niccolò Machiavelli. Some evidence suggests that of the dark traits, Machiavellianism is most closely tied to high intelligence. If a psychologist refers to someone as high Mac, it means they behave in a highly manipulative manner. How is narcissism related to the Dark Triad? The third piece of the triad, narcissism, is characterized by excessive self-regard and heightened arrogance. While many narcissists are merely frustrating, extreme or malignant narcissists can become emotionally abusive or even violent when they aren't given the special treatment they believe is deserved. What is D, or the dark factor of personality? Recently, researchers have begun to hypothesize that a single core factor classified as D may underlie many different negative traits, including those in the Dark Triad, as well as sadism, entitlement, and others. D denotes a tendency to maximize one's own desires at the expense of other people's. What is the Light Triad? Researchers have recently begun to study the so-called light triad of traits: faith in humanity, humanism, and Kantianism. The theory is often framed as the opposite of the Dark Triad and hinges on the belief that people are inherently good and should not be treated expediently. How to recognize the Dark Triad. The Dark Triad attempts to capture manipulative, exploitative traits that are not represented by the Big Five, a five-factor model of the core traits of an individual's personality, which is considered the most reliable and widely used model of personality to date. To identify these traits in clinical settings, clinicians and researchers typically use individual scales measuring narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism separately, or a 12-item scale known as the Dirty Dozen that is designed to measure all three at once. Do Dark Triad individuals easily conceal their true nature? There are physical and behavioral cues that have been shown to be associated with the Dark Triad in research settings. Individuals with these traits may excel at hiding their true nature, especially at first. Narcissists, for instance, often appear charming and likable upon first meeting. Some evidence suggests that this may be due to the perception that they have high self-esteem, a socially desirable trait. Are there facial features associated with the Dark Triad? Narcissism, in particular, has been found to manifest in people's physical appearance. Narcissists are more likely to dress nicely, be physically attractive, and wear makeup or dress provocatively. One 2018 study found that grandiose narcissists also tended to have distinctive, well-groomed eyebrows. Is there a test for the Dark Triad? In response to rising interest in the Dark Triad, researchers Peter K. Jonassen and Gregory D. Webster developed a concise 12-item measure of these personality traits called the Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen offers a faster, easier way to identify the Dark Triad traits than does testing for narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy individually. And darlings, the one I wanted to get to after learning a bit about the Dark Triad. How can I spot a Dark Triad individual? I would like to remind viewers, I'm a retired investigative journalist and entertainer, and an active humanist. So I am not qualified to diagnose to counsel on any level when it comes to psychology, psychiatry, not even life coach. But I'm a pretty smart cookie, and this has really piqued my interest. So let's see what it says in Psychology Today about how can I spot a Dark Triad individual. It can be difficult to spot someone high in Dark Triad traits. And without a formal evaluation, you may never know for sure. But someone who repeatedly lies, demonstrates a marked lack of empathy, or bullies others to achieve their own goals may be high in one or more dark traits. This has been Lip Lock No More. Thank you for listening.